Yeah, and we just keep on going here on the wheel, and we end up at the riding across of the four ways with the 2-4 profile. When you get the second line, you come to management, and it's right there in the blood. Development and management of a proper collective structure. This is a tribal gate, a proper collective structure which restricts inferior experience by creating cooperative blends, restricts ego beating, restricts the ego by creating corporate modes, and integrates those forces with progressive and superior forces, meaning that. Meaning that this is one of those things that you see in the factory. The 54 is so jealous of the 26. The 54 takes a bus to work. The 26 is the salesman and the saleswoman. They've got a very expensive car that the tech company gave them. They have a great place in the parking lot and they have a special place in the cafeteria. They don't even have to show up for work every day. The relationship is the whole material capitalism of the stream. That the one thing that has to keep the lid on is the 45. It has always reminded the 54 that one day that two could be you. I'm just recording. Give me a few minutes, okay? And at the same time, it needs to be reward him and massage that ego. Nah, you don't have to come in today. That's fine. Just make sure it's on my desk tomorrow. And anyone who manages an ego has to see that you can't just press them. You have to give them their rest, their rewards. Otherwise, you don't get the power of the will. So the possibility that alert is the patterns will result in management capability. When you're managing the ego, the 37 and the 44 understand something. They don't like it. But nothing is going to happen without that ego thing. And they all have to find a way to make an ego thing for their friend. And they both work on the massage principle. The 37 is affectionate and warm and appreciative and loving and all that stuff. And the 44 treats you special if you're productive. In other words, 26 get to feel that they're special because their 44 treats them different than anybody else, and the ego is massaged. It's like when somebody dies. The first thing you try to do is massage their heart. And you really have to see that that's where the 37 and the 44 work on. How do we massage this thing that we can control it because it's not aware and it's very powerful? Remember that they're both pointed at the two great gates of denial. The 26 says to the 44, and I know because I'm a 26 that you don't even think of manipulating me. And the 40 says to the 37, I know because I'm a 40 and I have the third no 37, don't give this affection shit. What do you want? Denial is denial. So they got to be good. And you can't do it with everyone. It's like marriage. The 4426 is just like the 4037. This is a marriage. It's a marriage without precondition. It's a marriage without a contract, but it's a marriage. In the death room march, the instinctive memory for the pattern that bypasses the development of manageable capability. This is about simply being goal oriented. In other words, rather than the focus simply being on the management of the being, it's a management on the being with a specific and very precise goal, which means you don't necessarily align yourself with egos that are not correct for you. This is one of the things. After all, we're talking about the 2-4 now, and the fact of the matter is that we can see that there's a tremendous potential to manage society in the 2-4. The missionary that I keep talking about, this incredible capacity once called to be very, very influential. And this is a classic 44 position. To be a 2-4 on this cross is really to have the ego call on you, which is rare. In other words, usually it's the 44s because it's their job to preserve the tribe and their intelligence. They have to reach the 26, but the 2-4s obviously aren't on the search. The 26 is. The ego. This gives them certain advantages. In other words, they have less of a result which they are going to create the conditions that will be the result of relationship. Remember something, the 44 can only hope that the 26 that it sees that what it takes because when you're together and they're the channel, they become something else. We know what it is. This is the channel of the transmitter. This is the channel of surrender. This is something that is enormously powerful as a life force, and that the real conditions that exist are the conditions that emerge from the presence of this life force. The other thing is that the 44 is very, very, very cold, like the reptilian source that it comes from, cold blooded. The 26 is the hot blooded. This is the hot and the cold. And you can understand that by the heat, by bringing up the cold to the boil. And the cold can freeze the very life out of the heat. This is a dangerous recipe we're talking about. Dangerous stuff. It's a cold place. It's why it's very important that they don't confuse themselves with being 37s. 44 can't have that confusion. It's not hot. It's not warm. It's not at all. As a matter of fact, they don't play hot with an ego. You play hot with an ego and you're in a flight. The ego says, I'm in charge of hot. Okay. Then we go to the 2-5. The 2-5 in its lifetime will have many opportunities to be of a managerial value and much more in the sense of being. Because I'm using these metaphors, we have to be careful. I don't want you to just think about this in a traditional business context that I'm using a metaphor. That is that the 46 can preserve its aspect of its tribal continuity through aligning itself with an ego that can bring productivity. And it operates at many levels. Managing one ego, which happened to be a friend, is just as valuable as a content. I just don't want you to get lost in only the business application of that. Obviously, in the 2-5, there's always this projection in being called out. Remember that the second line personality here will not look for egos. As a matter of fact, that's quite a burden. If you're cold, it's hard to deal with hot, and egos can be very, very annoying. And the vast majority of the people who can walk this planet have undefined egos, which means that the 44 is often fooled when they think that they're dealing with an ego when they're dealing with the not self, and that's why you have so much failure in this channel to truly find surrender and to transmit the truth. So, in the sense of the 2-5 here, there's always going to be this projection that they can help me. You're an ego being, and you have the sense that they can be of service. They can be of value. But it doesn't work, that they get very cold. 44 is going to get burned at the stake, and it doesn't like that. Then it will really get into withdrawal, and they hide behind its hermit's personality. So good luck with that, hiding there.